especially at 2,000 something feet altitude. And the main thing I want you guys to know and remember is it does not take RPM to get these motorcycles moving. This is the most powerful motorcycle you've ever been on board, but more importantly than that, it has more torque than anything you've ever ridden before, unless you've ridden race bikes. Right? The motorcycle will leave. I'm going to make the first couple runs just so, because a lot of guys come from road racing backgrounds, and to say leave at 3,000 RPMs, they go, you gotta be kidding me, right? And I says, no, I'm not kidding at all. If you leave anything over 3,500, it's a waste. The bike's gonna be all up in your chest. So to hear that is one thing. To show you that the motorcycle will leave successfully at a low RPM, it'll actually probably look slow when I leave, but the numbers on the board will be good, because you got to get the bike moving, hover the front wheel off the ground a little bit, not too high, but you're going to use the torque of the motorcycle to get off the starting line. Now, the hardest thing will be to maintain the starting line RPM. That is going to be the hardest thing I'm going to tell you to do today, besides getting the bike moving. Because you're gonna set the RPM at about 3,000, 3,500 RPMs. That's it. If you set it at 3,500 in the pre-stage mode, and you go to stage and you hear the RPM go up, even if it's at 4,000 RPMs, if the light comes down, don't move. As long as you don't move, you're not going to start the timers. Just look down, set it back at 3,000, 3,500 RPMs. I'm telling you 3,500. Set it at 3,500 RPMs. Once you have it set there, creep up with your feet, and then leave when you're ready. Well, you'll be already in the beams if the light already came down. You don't have to creep up at all. Set it at 3,500 and then leave from there. Now, the most important thing about this is you gotta load the clutch. You gotta keep the clutch close to engagement. That way, you have no runaway RPM. That's what we don't want, is runaway RPM. If you chase the throttle at all, even a little bit, the run is over. I promise you, your 330 is going to show you. Chasing the throttle means you start with your throttle hand before you start letting the clutch go. When you get close to engagement, you preload the clutch. As soon as you go to leave, these two have to react at the same time, because you want the RPM to go down and then up. You want to load the motor instantly. You want to... If we hear that, we know, and you will find out later that when you hear that, that's a successful launch. Even if it's too slow, we can bounce you up. But if you start out with the RPM, that just means you're going to have to hold the clutch in your hand that much longer. Alright? Now, the other thing that's really important is to make sure that there's one fluid motion with the clutch and the throttle. In other words, you're not going to leave, and at any point do you go backwards on the throttle. You should only go forward and pause. You might go back 2%, but smoothly, and then roll back in it. You won't go 10%, 2%, 6%. That's just going to have you like this. You're going to go forward, and you're going to get the clutch out your hand smoothly. Riding this motorcycle does not mean that you keep it on the ground by dragging the clutch out. That's just going to slow your 60 foot up and your 330, and it's going to make your RPMs go too high. Because if you're doing everything right, you're going to be accelerating while you're letting the clutch out, and if you hold the clutch and you're still accelerating, the RPMs go up and you're sliding the clutch. So now you hear brrrr, and then at some point, most people go, I've been holding the clutch too long, let me let it go. And that last little 10% of quick release pops you up in the air. So, you just have to be smooth. That's all of this is to say. You have to be very smooth and progressive with the clutch and the throttle. Once the clutch is out your hand, everything else is controlled with the throttle hand. So you want to get the clutch out your hand, not like this, but you want to progressively get it out smoothly, quickly, and then you want to control what happens in first gear with this hand. This hand is around the bar. You can control whether the front wheel comes up or whatever right here. The idea is when you get used to it, by the end of the day, the idea is to get the throttle open at the top of first gear before you shift. If you guys have to short shift, that's okay. It's not going to give you the best ET, but it's okay. You have to short shift at 10 grand because the wheel's already in the air and you've been holding first gear long enough. Short shift second so you can get in the throttle, okay. But ideally, we want to see you get wide open in first gear. You do pretty good at this, Brock. You know how to do this. So getting the throttle open in first gear and running first gear all the way out the red line is going to get you your best ET of the day. And me saying it is one thing, but you seeing it on the time slips, Jeff's going to be up there, Derek's going to be up there. Every run you make, these bikes, we're going to be giving them your number, your names in the tower. So your slip will have your name on it. Every run you make, Jeff's going to record your 60 and your 330 because that's all you're going to start out running. It's the third gear and shut it down. All you want to know is when you come back is what was my 330. You want to know if you're going down, you're getting quicker and quicker, or you're all over the place. If you're all over the place, we got a lot more work to do. If you're progressively getting quicker and quicker and quicker, now we can take you out of TC2, put you in TC1. Alright, so it's all up to you guys, how fast you progress. It doesn't matter. We're going to have a great time. You're going to see that this motorcycle is unbelievably fast, and eventually we'll get you to TC1, and you'll see that everything has to be done. And just so you know, in TC2, it's forgiveness mode. I'm going to make some runs right now with TC off, and then I'm going to make a run with TC2 on, and you're going to see me pretty much just get off the clutch and pin it to the wood like within 20 feet. That's basically what you can do in TC2. When we switch you to 1, you can't do that. So we want to teach you in TC2 how to ride in TC1. All right. So I'm gonna jump on the bike real quick. Come to the starting line, and always pay attention. Stand on one side of me. Watch my clutch hand. Listen to the RPMs. Look at where I'm at on the RPMs when I leave. When I come back around, go to the other side. Watch my throttle hand. If you can use your peripheral to watch both, that's fine. But I just want you guys to see what my hands do when I leave, how it sounds. It doesn't sound very hard, like I'm leaving really hard, like I'm setting the world on fire, but the smoother you are, the faster you're going to go. Alright?
Sounds good.
So I'll meet you on the starting line. I'm going to make a couple runs, and then you guys are going to suit up and get on the starting line.